Today we'll be looking at 10 WWE wrestlers who could have become superstars but were instead buried despite their potential. We'll find out why something so unfortunate happened to them, be it backstage politics, bad booking, or missed opportunities. Some of these players were on their route to becoming spotlight fighters, while others had the support of their fans. So stick around to find out why such great potential was not properly utilized. And if you loved content that goes in-depth and informs you about everything that has happened, is happening, or could have happened, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an update from us. Now, without further ado, let's get right into it. Ethan Carter III, EC3. Ethan Carter III, famously known as EC3, was a fighter who had every tool in his arsenal to be a great wrestler. He had everything starting from an eye-catching look, charisma, and one of his strongest assets, his mic skills. After starting anew in Impact Wrestling as a really arrogant player, who also happened to be the nephew of Dixie Carter, he soon became one of the most well-known stars in the company. He even managed to make numerous feuds with famous wrestlers such as Matt Hardy and Kurt Angle, which easily made it clear that he was a star event player. After his return to WWE in 2018, expectations from him were very high, especially when he debuted in NXT with his unique character who was extremely rich and arrogant. But unfortunately, this act of his did not take off at all. He was summoned by WWE to join the roster in 2019, but nobody knew that this was going to be a devastating mistake for him, as he was basically treated as a side character. He was barely given any mic time, something which was considered to be his strongest asset. Slowly but surely, after a brief period of time being used as a character only used for silent backstage segments, he was soon dropped off the WWE roster in 2020 due to budget cuts. Thankfully, later on, EC3 again reinvented himself as an independent character in the Control Your Narrative gimmick, which took off smoothly and proved to everyone that WWE did indeed waste his potential for years. Hence, we can say that his entire career till he was dropped from WWE was a classic case of bad booking and lost opportunity. Damien Sandow. One of the most charismatic and entertaining superstars, Damien Sandow was one of WWE's most potential holding people, yet he never had the proper opportunity to showcase his skills. He made his debut in 2012 in the intellectual savior of the masses gimmick. He made a name for himself using his condescending persona, and expressive promos made fans all over the world, and even won the Money in the Bank contract in 2013. However, even after so many achievements, WWE never really was fully there for him. He cashed in his contract against John Cena. He never expected that he would end up becoming the first MITB winner to lose his cash-in match clean, which absolutely killed his momentum going ahead. Usually, such a moment would put him up for other storylines, but he was soon just held back into comedic roles, and he even was posed as The Miz's stunt double, Damien Mizdow. Thankfully, all of these storylines really took off, and he finally had a lot of fans behind him. Just as things were looking good for him, WWE decided to drop his chances again after he separated himself from The Miz in hopes of making a proper name for himself. Sandow was actually left all alone with no real direction and quickly lowered to one of the least used players. After this, in 2016, WWE let him go, even though he had a huge fan base supporting him. Basically, WWE could not capitalize on his character and wasted a lot of potential that could have been used for so many better storylines. Gail Kim. Gail made her debut in the year 2003 and instantly made it clear that she was not like the other wrestlers after she won the WWE Women's Championship in her very first match. She was clearly one of the most impressive talents WWE ever had. Unfortunately, like many others, WWE never really backed up her potential, and soon she was released in 2004. Though she was definitely not happy, she decided to rebuild her career in Impact Wrestling, where she absolutely dominated and became the face of the Knockout division. As she became a legend after winning multiple Knockout championships, fame surrounded her, and she was deemed as one of the most impressive women wrestlers in the world. All of her achievements and the attention given by her fans led to WWE re-signing her up in 2008. Everyone expected this time to be different for her, as she was clearly much better than when she was in 2003, but sadly, she was again underutilized. Instead of letting her compete in major storylines and feuds, she was instead used in numerous pointless Divas-era tag matches. She realized that she was not being given a fair chance, and so, After getting frustrated from getting treated this way, she eliminated herself from a battle royale in 2011 and went on to protest about the way WWE treated women and then left the company altogether. After she returned back to Impact Wrestling, she made sure to cement her position as one of the most legendary women wrestlers of all time, proving to the entire world that WWE was just suppressing her talents. To this very day, she is very open about how she was treated back in WWE, showing that if WWE had actually used her properly, they could have become so much better together. Red Rooster. Terry Taylor, better known as the Red Rooster, was a talented and charismatic individual when he made his debut in 1998, but he was a victim of not getting good opportunities, to say the least. When Terry made his debut, he was asked to be in one of the worst storylines and gimmicks ever, which led to his name, the Red Rooster. Instead of being allowed to perform as himself, he was more or less forced to perform as a rooster-like character, going to the extent of even making him dye his hair red. According to Vince McMahon, he was just testing Terry to see if Terry could overcome this minute challenge, but for Terry, this was the worst possible thing he could have accepted. From the very beginning, his character was showcased as a comic relief wrestler, and it was almost impossible to take his character seriously, even after his brief feud with Bobby Heenan, his ex-manager. Around the same time, other wrestlers were also given similar gimmicks as Taylor, such as Mr. Perfect and Ric Flair, and both of them managed to make a huge fan base, which showed that the Red Rooster had a talent but was dealt a losing hand from the very start. By 1990, Taylor decided to leave WWE for good, but the gimmick title of the Red Rooster became a lifelong stain on his name. Sometimes careers are just destroyed even before they have a chance to get into it, and Taylor is the perfect example of this. Tenille Dashwood. Tenille Dashwood, famously known as Emma, was a very famous wrestler who showed a lot of potential in wrestling due to her impressive performances in both NXT and the main roster. After her witty and dance-loving character was introduced in NXT, she quickly gained popularity with her persona and her in-ring skills. She even had a major feud with a famous wrestler called Paige, which is still considered to be one of the division classics, and this feud gave a very big push to showcase to the entire world that the women's division of WWE was more than just eye candy. She kept on showing her potential in every match, but after she was signed to the main roster in 2014, she was quickly taken away from the spotlight. Instead of giving her more opportunities, especially based off her numerous achievements and extraordinary performances in NXT, she was teamed up with Santino Marella in a comedic role that made her go from a serious character to an absolute joke. She knew that this was not going to work out, so after she returned in 2014 again, she took up a revamped heel persona, where she gave up her quirky, fun-loving persona and became much more serious and aggressive. This reinvented version of hers was an absolute hit. But yet again, WWE failed to capitalize on this. After a couple years of not getting the right push from WWE, she asked for another redo. After months of hyping up her new gimmick named as Emelina, everyone thought this would be the turning point for her, but to everyone's surprise, WWE dropped the gimmick the night she made the debut. It was clear that she was not being treated fairly, and there were clearly internal matters going on, as she was soon released from WWE the same year, even after having such a promising career. The Chosen One. Drew McIntyre is one of the best examples of potential being wasted due to poor booking. Drew was titled The Chosen One by Vince McMahon himself and showed great promise in the wrestling world after he made his debut in 2009 and won the Intercontinental Championship soon after. People assumed that he would go on to be a main star for the company, but instead, after he lost his title, WWE utterly lost all faith in him. In fact, soon he was pulled down to become a lower-level player, and by 2012, all he was part of a jabber group called the 3MB, which was literally a massive downgrade from his initial status. He soon was transformed into a glorified, enhanced talent rather than becoming a powerful force. In 2014, WWE decided to let go of Drew, but Drew was not going to let this one bad moment in his life define his entire career. And so after a little while where he mainly focused on himself and participated in independent fields, he reinvented himself and joined Impact Wrestling, where he was a big hit. He became so famous that he decided to return to WWE in 2017, and this time, unlike many others, he actually was given a proper opportunity. After WWE used his fame properly, he became a massive star, and in 2020, he ended up winning the WWE Championship as well. Drew showed the entire world that he truly was the chosen one and proved to everyone that one bad decision in life is not enough to define your entire future, and redemption is always an option. Toni Storm. Not many players could actually establish themselves as a future cornerstone like Toni Storm did for WWE Women's Division. She was considered to be the future role model for every new wrestler, but tragedy soon struck after she was a victim of bad bookings, and to add on to that, multiple creative frustrations caused her to leave even before she tapped into her full potential. After Storm entered NXT UK, she soon made a name for herself after she defeated numerous wrestlers who were deemed to be unbeatable and won the NXT UK Women's Championship. After gaining a lot of success and experience from NXT UK, she moved to NXT, where she continued to deliver just like before, but everything fell apart after she joined the main roster in 2021. WWE decided to take time introducing her properly, and this caused her to stay off the live TV for months, and when she finally returned, instead of giving her character a proper chance to establish herself, instead, she was given the opportunity to be in a short-lived feud against Charlotte Flair. Toni was definitely not happy, and nor were her fans, but WWE decided to make her situation even worse after she was booked in a humiliating pie-throwing segment which took away everything from her previous serious persona and left her nothing but a joke. After Toni realized that WWE was never going to truly give her the right push she needed, she released herself in December 2021 from a career that could have been an absolute breakthrough. After she left WWE to prove to her fans that she was still the fighter she was back in NXT, she decided to join the AEW, where she reinvented herself as timeless and gained massive success and support from her fans. After gaining such success outside of the WWE, Tori made it very clear that Tori was actually never the problem. It was WWE's lack of vision, on the other hand, that was. Rusev. Rusev is the prime example of every good thing comes to an end. When Rusev made his debut in 2014, he made waves as he was absolutely unstoppable and remained undefeated for almost an entire year. Due to this, he was even named as a Bulgarian brute, which just added to his terrifying character. He even was so promising that he won the United States Championship and even had a huge feud with none other than John Cena during WrestleMania 31. Just as everything was looking great for Rusev, he lost to John Cena, and after his loss, WWE seemingly lost all interest in his character. Even though Rusev went through multiple stages of reinventing himself and his character, he was never given a chance to come back as a main eventer until he tried reinventing himself one last time in a gimmick called Rusev Day. Fortunately for him, this gimmick became an overnight success and the fans loved it. But instead of using this success to pull Rusev up, WWE completely ignored it and kept Rusev as a mid-level wrestler. After all of this, Rusev got into one of WWE's most hated storylines, a love triangle between him, Lana, and Bobby Lashley, which was probably the biggest mistake of his life as the fans absolutely hated it. WWE soon let go of Rusev in 2020 after deciding that he was not worth another reinvention. People assumed his career would be over after this, but Rusev proved everyone wrong after he absolutely dominated AEW, joining it under the stage name Miro, proving that he was always an S-tier wrestler and that if WWE had used him at his highest, he could have become so much more. Diamond Dallas Page. You might recognize the name Diamond Dallas Page as he was literally one of WCW's most famous wrestlers of all time. He was a wrestler who had worked hard on himself, and everything he earned was all because of his own determination. He was a self-made success. He had the physique, the storytelling skills, and the charisma most wrestlers dream of. He even had multiple huge feuds with insanely famous wrestlers like Goldberg and the NWO, which just made the fans love him even more. His fame was undisputable, all until he announced that he was going to join WWE. All his fans were excited to see him make his crazy entry in WWE, but instead, they had to witness his entry with a horrible storyline that almost ruined him completely. Instead of keeping DDP as his old giddy self, WWE totally turned him into a weird stalker after he was revealed to be stalking The Undertaker's wife, Sarah. This entire storyline may have been great for The Undertaker, but the same could not be said about DDP. Instead of being booked as a main event wrestler, DDP was humiliated by The Undertaker multiple times, which destroyed his reputation. WWE knew DDP could still be used further, so they repackaged him as a motivational speaker who always smiled, and this gimmick did not pay off either, as WWE did not see the potential in it. By 2002, DDP decided to leave the company for good and found fame in multiple other places. He even became a Hall of Famer and launched DDP Yoga, which changed countless lives of normal people and wrestlers alike. DDP's WWE career may not have been successful, but the entirety of his career is anything but a failure. Zack Ryder. After seeing so many people, you must have thought that the situation could have not get any worse, but the story of Zack Ryder might have changed your mind. Initially, Zack started off as a low-card wrestler, so Zack had a great idea and reinvented himself by using his YouTube channel as a medium after releasing a series called Z, True Long Island Story. This series was an absolute hit, and it showed his true nature and personality, and the fans loved it, and they all started to support Zack. After months of getting cheered on by fans, WWE took notice and decided to give him a chance, and this led to him winning the United States Championship. Things were looking great for Zack, and WWE was heavily using this fame of his to their advantage. But slowly, as this rush ended, WWE wasted no time and quickly buried him. Soon he was converted into a gag wrestler who was used as a punching bag for Kate and John Cena in a love triangle storyline, which was absolutely humiliating. This ruined the empire he had built, and he was back to being a low-card wrestler. Usually, after such a devastating and humiliating time, most people consider quitting, but not Zack. He made sure he never stopped working, and it paid off, as in 2016, he won the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 32, but unfortunately he lost it just the day after. WWE clearly never saw the true potential in him and soon dropped him in 2020. After this, Zack decided to leave his persona. He started to use his real name, Matt Cardona, and started to absolutely bloom in the independent scene, proving that not only did the WWE humiliate him, but also wasted years of his precious hard work and potential. He is truly the prime example of never stop believing in yourself. Marvelous verdict. So friends, that was it for today's 10 WWE talents who never got the push they deserved. These players had everything a player needs to make it big, but sometimes the career you love does not truly understand your love, and it's okay, as long as you don't give up just like these fighters did. Which fighters do you think had the most potential? Share your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, this is The V, signing off for Marvelous Wrestling.